The sun hung low over Redwood Beach, painting the waves gold and the sand a warm amber. I'd moved here to escape the noise of the city, the weight of my past and the ghosts that lingered in my rearview mirror. My two German shepherds, Titan and Rex, weren't just dogs. They were my sentinels, trained to guard with a precision that could make a drill sergeant jealous. They didn't bark for treats or wag for strangers. They waited for my command, and when it came, they moved like lightning wrapped in fur. I thought I'd left violence behind. But some people, like Susan, the HOA queen, had other plans. It was a Saturday, the kind where the breeze carried salt and promise. My 5-year-old nephew, Tommy, was visiting for the week. He was a quiet kid, all wide eyes and gentle giggles, the kind who'd thank a crab for scuttling by. He loved the ocean but flinched at the waves, so I took him to the public boardwalk bench, a safe spot where he could doodle boats in the sand with a stick. For a moment, I believed we'd have peace. Then I heard Ithiel's clicking on wood, sharp and deliberate, like a judge's gavel. Susan appeared, her white sundress pristine, her sunglasses perched like a crown. She was the HOA's self-appointed enforcer, the kind of woman who'd fine you for a crooked mailbox. Her eyes locked on Tommy, then me, her lips curling into a smirk that promised trouble. I should have stood, should have moved, but I hoped she'd pass. Susan never passed. She stopped, arms crossed, and declared, "This bench is for HOA members only." I kept my voice steady. "He's 5, Susan. He's just sitting. Let it go." Her eyes narrowed, scanning Tommy like he was a smudge on her perfect world. "Where's his tag?" she demanded, pointing to her own HOA badge, a shiny trinket that screamed authority. "All kids in shared spaces need visible ID." Page 12, paragraph 3. "That's not a rule," I said, stepping between her and Tommy. "That's your imagination." Her smirk widened, and before I could react, she reared back and kicked Tommy square in the face. Not a stumble, not a nudgy, a full-force snap that sent him tumbling off the bench. He hit the sand hard, his stick rolling away, blood trickling from his lip. The world froze. Even the waves seemed to hold their breath. I dropped to my knees beside Tommy. His nose was swelling, his eyes brimming with tears he didn't understand. Susan shrugged, her voice ice cold. "I warned you. If you let kids act like strays, someone's got to teach them discipline." Rage boiled in my chest, but I didn't move. Not yet. Susan turned, brushing her dress like she'd just swatted a fly, and started walking away. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a whistle, the kind used by K-9 handlers. One short, sharp blow. The signal. Susan paused, frowning, as if I'd just played a bad note. She didn't know what was coming. From the dunes, a low rumble grew pause on sand, steady, relentless. Titan and Rex burst into view, 200 pounds of muscle and instinct charging like a storm. Susan stumbled back, her voice sharp. "You've got to be kidding." Too late. Titan leaped, jaws clamping her forearm, the one that had pointed, that had judged. She screamed, a piercing wail that turned every head on the beach. Titan yanked her sideways, her dress tearing as she hit the sand. Rex followed, hitting her low, knocking the air from her lungs. She sprawled, gasping, her perfect dress now a shredded mess. "Call them off," she shrieked, crawling to her knees. I stood over Tommy, who was curled up, trembling. "You kicked a child," I said, my voice steady but burning. "You drew blood and called it discipline." Susan tried to crawl away, but Rex cut her off, snarling. Titan circled, patient, precise. She fumbled for her phone, screaming about the police, but Titan snapped it from her hand, crunching it into sparks and plastic. The crowd gathered, phones out, filming. No one helped her. They'd seen Susan's rain fines for chalk drawings, threats over lawn ornaments. I knelt beside Tommy, brushing sand from his face. "You're safe now," I whispered. Then I stood, my shadow falling over Susan. "You wanted control," I said. "Now feel what it's like to have none." Susan, bleeding and ragged, grabbed a car key from her purse and slashed at Titan, cutting a red line across his shoulder. My jaw clenched. "You just drew blood on a rescue dog." She stood, shaking, holding the key like a weapon. "They're feral. I'll sue you into oblivion." I gave the signal. Rex lunged, clamping her thigh and dragging her back to the sand. The key fell, crushed under Titan's paw. "You're not being mauled," I said, stepping closer. You're being held accountable. Susan tried to crawl, leaving a trail of blood and torn fabric. The dogs herded her toward the lifeguard tower, forcing her to circle it. She sobbed, her dress in tatters, her pride shattered. On her third lap, her hand slipped, her chin slamming into the wood. She collapsed, heaving, silent. I knelt beside her. You ruled by fear. Now you're a warning. The crowd was still filming, their whispers growing louder. An older woman stepped forward. She fined my daughter $200 for a lemonade stand. A man added, she threatened my dad over a birdhouse. Susan shook her head, muttering about lies, but no one listened. Her power was gone. By nightfall, the videos hit the internet. Redwood Susan trended, each clip more damning than the last. By Monday, the HOA called an emergency meeting, public for once. Residents overflowed the hall, some wearing shirts with Titan and Rex's faces. Susan was stripped of her titles, no appeal. Complaints poured in, forged signatures, embezzled funds, threats against the elderly. An audit was ordered. Susan's empire crumbled. She tried to fight back, claiming victimhood, hiring a lawyer. But the footage was undeniable, the witnesses too many. Her lawyer quit, citing ethics. 2 weeks later, deputies arrested her for child endangerment, animal cruelty, and housing code violations. They cuffed her outside her condo, her former condo, now repossessed. She screamed, but her voice was just noise. Her lawsuit against me? Dismissed. Self-defense applies to kids, too, especially with 80 witnesses and timestamped video. Titan and Rex got medals from the local K-9 unit. They still sleep by my door, ready but unneeded. Susan's name vanished from Redwood Beach, her legacy reduced to a cautionary tale. Tommy healed fast, his scar a faint line he calls pirate cool. He drew Titan and Rex as superheroes, taping paper capes to their collars. One evening, he climbed back onto that bench, swinging his legs, fearless. I watched, not guarding, just there. The HOA offered me a board seat. I declined. Power corrupts, and I'd seen what it did to Susan. The beach changed. Neighbors talked again, planted flowers, let kids laugh without fear of fines. One said it felt like we owned our homes again. I don't take credit. I just answered a whistle. Susan built her throne on silence. I tore it down with one call. Would you have done the same if someone hurt your child? Comment yes or no below, and share how you'd stand up to injustice. Do you think Susan got what she deserved, or did I go too far? This isn't just a story, it's about the lines we draw, the people we protect. Share your thoughts, because silence lets bullies like Susan thrive. Subscribe if you believe in justice that bites back. Thank you for reading.